Hi, welcome back to Keep It Dirty, a podcast where my guests share their life living functionally and sustainably, and the why behind their experiences navigating through our ever changing environment. I am your host, Leslie Dowling. I'm a corporate speaker sharing how one can jumpstart your path to increased revenue and productivity through restorative health techniques. And today it is my pleasure to welcome my guest, Naomi Joseph. Naomi is an author, speaker, and liberated binge eater. How are you, Naomi? Great to see you.
Hi, Leslie. I am so excited to be here with you today.
Oh, well, I would love to hear because I think we've all had somebody we knew, family members, loved ones, or maybe we've been on this vicious journey, binge eating. So I would love for you to share maybe in your formative years or just a little bit about what you're doing today with being an author and share your story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the reason that I wrote my book was because I figured if one person could benefit from what I had to say, thank God it's been a lot more than one person, but really, if I could have one person on this earth not go through what I went through for as long as I went through it, that would be worth it for me. And I find that binge eating, um, people are loath to admit that they struggle with it because it's not sexy. It is shameful because people look at people who have difficulty with food struggles sometimes as slothful or not in control. And people are ashamed to reach out. So I figured if I go first, then I can just open the gateway for people to have the confidence to reach out and get the help that they need. So that's why I came out with my story. And I gotta say, I'm pretty proud that I did it. It was a pretty gutsy thing to do. It was not in my wheelhouse at all. I am a speech and language pathologist. Um, Funny enough, my specialty is feeding and swallowing disorders. Probably not an accident. I'm also an entrepreneur with a health and wellness company, which was very difficult for me to be promoting health and wellness the whole time, shrouding this secret of not being so healthy or well. So that was also difficult. And also knowing better, my mother was an 8-time cancer survivor, and she was really, I mean, she had her first cancer in the early 80s. So she was really a pioneer in healthy eating, healthier food choices. Really, when people weren't doing that, she was sort of green before anybody knew what green was. So having her as a role model and then just struggling with this whole thing, I really wanted to bring this to the public eye so that people don't feel so all alone.
Yeah. And was this something that you struggled with as a little girl, or this was triggered as a teenager? What do you think were some of the red flags, per se?
So I have tracked back to when it started. For me, I was 8 years old. So this has been oh gosh, I think I was in binge eating for about 45 years. So I really led my life like that, not understanding that not everybody did this. I thought that this was normal. And I remember talking about it to a friend of mine, and she looked at me like I had three heads. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, uh-oh. Does not everybody do this? It was
Oh,
so what binge eating is, and I think a lot of people may not know what it is, but binge eating is when you put hand to mouth, uh, food, and it's most people don't even really realize you're almost like in a trance, like you don't even realize what you're doing, and just really shoving in your mouth like anything that you can for a long period of time when you are not hungry at all. Um, and it's there, I think, for several reasons. It usually starts from trauma when you are little. And after you're done, it's almost like you wake up from a dream and you see the evidence, the wrappers and the crumbs. And
Mm.
it's almost like you don't even remember what you did or how you got there, but you are left with feelings of shame and of guilt and of remorse. And those feelings serve to distract you from what is really uh, the underlying issue, which as children we may not be prepared to deal with. So it is much less threatening and harmful to what your mind can handle as a child to be angry at yourself instead of upset with perhaps a family member or something that's going on in your current situation. Because as children, of course, we don't have any control over our circumstances, and actually, we rely on our circumstances, or else we wouldn't be able to survive. So we turn and distract ourselves away from it. And I'm grateful that I found that I was, I guess, smart enough to find food, to find that thing. Um,
Mhm.
and it helped me to get through whatever I was going through when I was younger. But then, of course, the challenge is to change your ways once you're an adult and you have choices. Um, and it took me a lot longer than most people. But I'm glad that I'm here now.
Absolutely. And for just social media, the younger generation, the little girls and boys, the image is just dysmorphia or just this perfect image that could be just airbrushed and changed. What are some of the uh, red flags or things that maybe parents with young children should just kind of be aware of? And what are the tools, or I guess, are there a lot of, is there help out there for families just to maybe reach out if they have any questions or concerns? Where do you start?
That is so helpful. So, yeah, thank you so much for asking that. Um, so, in terms of red flags for your children, um, in terms of binge eating, looking in closets, seeing if snacks disappear very quickly. Um, if you see that your child is gaining weight, but you don't see them eating, because binge eating always happens in secret.
Mm.
So if they are hiding food, sneaking food, and then you see them restrict. So there's a cycle. There's always a binge, and then there's always a purge. A purge, people think it means throwing up. Binge eaters don't throw up, but there's the purge. The purge is the self-loathing. What I was talking about before, how you take whatever angst or upset that you're feeling and you turn it on yourself in terms of, I can't believe I did that. What's wrong with me? I'm so fat. I'm so ugly. I'm so stupid, all of that. And then you go into the restrict. And that's where my favorite word and yours, Leslie, the D word comes in, diet,
Yeah.
which of course worsens the situation because then you're restricting, and then every restrict needs to be followed by a binge. And
Mm.
every binge is followed by a purge, and every purge follows a restrict. And then you get stuck in this circle for a very long time. And in terms of, so if parents see this, if they see children struggling with, with, with confidence, um, with food, with measuring out their food, but then you see them gaining weight and you see things missing in the snack drawer, or um, or even quantities, like tremendous quantities until they're so full, not listening to um, cues of full and hungry. And that's also where the diet comes in because it's so prescriptive. 4 ounces of chicken,
Mm.
3 ounces of, and I will tell you, I have been on every diet under the sun. And I live on Long Island, um, where people talk like this a lot. And I have been to every single diet lady in the world, and I can hear her in my head. Okay, what do you want for breakfast? I'll give you half a cup of cottage cheese and half a cup of Cheerios. And you want a fruit? Okay, you can have a half a grapefruit. All right, what do you want for snack? I'll give you a fruit. You can have 1 cup of blueberry. Oh, you don't like blueberries? Have raspberries. Oh, you want a banana? No, you can't have a banana. It's too fattening. All
Wow.
right, what do you want for lunch? I suggest a 40-calorie whole wheat pita pocket with 1 can of dry tuna, and you can have a salad, but you can only put 1 tablespoon of olive. I mean,
Wow.
do you understand what I'm saying? This is how, when kids are taken to dietitians, this is how they're being trained. And of course, they want to be good children because binge eaters are very good, they don't make a lot of noise and they binge in private so as not to bother anybody
Hmm.
and not to be a pain. So they are going to be so prescriptive. They are going to purchase a scale. They are going to put their food on scales and measuring cups. And then if they're not perfect, then they're upset. And then they will binge and then they will purge and then they will diet and they will mess up their metabolisms and be dealing with this forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to parents, just to answer your question, to
Yeah.
parents, I would probably um, not do a dietitian. I would I would probably seek a mental health professional. Um, there is a book, several books by Janine Roth. She's an amazing author. She talks a lot about binge eating. And she said that a child came to her one time with a parent, and she asked the parent, what is the child's favorite food? And she said, M&Ms. She said, I want you to go fill a pillowcase with M&Ms and give it to this child and tell this child they could eat as many M&Ms as they want. This child was about 8 years old, and they took this pillowcase
Hmm.
and they carried it with them. And they took it to bed with them. In the bed, they went into the bathtub, they put it on the side of the bathtub. And when the pillowcase was half empty, the mother kept filling it. This went on for about 3 weeks. And slowly, slowly, once the child saw that they were allowed to eat and everything was okay and safe, and I'm not saying that you should try this on your own, or, but the child started, oh, they forgot the pillowcase upstairs. Oh, where's the pillowcase? I don't really know. And I can tell you, as a recovered binge eater, that in the beginning, when you're trained properly for how to listen to your body, you are told you could eat anything. And I'm going to tell you that's kind of like when the Munchkins found out that the Wicked Witch was dead. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Wow. That's amazing.
So you do that and but after about a couple of weeks, and you start listening to your body and you start being trained and learn how to listen to your body craves healthy food.
Mm.
If you can get out of your mind and listen to what your body wants things that grow from the earth. Your body wants actual food that God made. It's like you want the healthier fare. You want protein. You want fats. You want grains. And then once you can have them, it's a little bit shaky, but your metabolism will catch on once it learns that it could trust you and that you're not going to be restrict, binge, restrict, binge. And then your body will naturally find its way if you eat functionally, if you give it the food that it wants. And it's not restrictive, it's not being on a diet. It's going inside, it's getting out of your head, learning to connect and listen to your body, and your body will tell you what it wants. It will show you what it needs to feel good. And it's
Yes.
just everything that you talk about, Leslie, everything.
So it's the psychology behind, I guess, the relationship we have with food. And do you think that is something I try to instill with, lecturing, to just have a really healthy approach to food, to get kids involved with meal prep and cooking. I know my mom, she'd say, get out of the, I got this. She was this thick-headed Italian woman, and prepare, and never really got us involved with cooking. So what are your thoughts on that? Just instilling that healthy pattern, or sitting, mindful eating, chewing, because we're always on the go in this lifestyle that we've created.
So my mom always talked about how her mother never let her into the kitchen. And when she got married, she didn't know anything.
Oh.
And she wanted to cut a half a grapefruit into sections to put it down before the meal. And she cut it the wrong way. And she thought there was something wrong with the grapefruit. You understand? Like she knew nothing, like not like less than nothing.
Hmm.
Um, so when we were growing up, we were all girls in the house. I had all sisters, and we were all called into the kitchen. You get a bowl, you get a spoon, you get a cutting board, you get it, and we were involved. And to my mother's credit, not that I caught on to this because I had my own issues, but my mother did not really differentiate between a good food and a bad food. I mean, we were not like the other kids. I would go to their homes and they would have mac and cheese for dinner or pizza for dinner. If my mother served mac and cheese, you could have it after your half a grapefruit and your salad and your fish. Then you can have a scoop if you're still hungry.
Hmm.
There were brownies on hand if you wanted, and she would bring it out on the weekends or when guests came. She was a great baker, but it was always the healthy foods. They were always available. And if you wanted a brownie, it wasn't a no-no. It wasn't, a bad thing. It was like, oh, it was usually fruit, but on the weekends or when guests came, it came out. And if you wanted one, you had one and you walked away. And you were able to enjoy in that festivity or what was going on or a slice of birthday cake. Um, but she was really ahead of her time, I think, in the 60s and the 70s doing this when other people weren't. And it helped her with her illnesses later on. And it definitely instilled in myself and my sisters. I mean, we knew what healthy foods were, and a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, and especially I think now there's so many processed and packaged, and so many more drive-throughs that people have access to, which I feel kind of triggers this unhealthy wave. But what was it, I guess, what was it that kind of, where you had that aha moment of, I got to start making changes in my life, or put you on the path and trajectory of doing more research and writing a book? Maybe you could talk about the books that you wrote, and you could share a little bit about that.
So, um, I don't think that there was any one aha moment. I think it was a lot of very subtle knockings on my door throughout the years.
Hmm.
Um, I was very obsessed with being thin. So I think my first diet, I think my mother took me to Weight Watchers when I was about 12. And I got on the scale and I was 107 pounds, and they wouldn't allow me in because I was already equal weight, but I thought I was so fat.
Oh.
And um, and then from there, so I just started doing what my mother did. And um, I think even in my head now, okay, two breads, three. Do you remember like the little? boxes that you checked. Now I think they have some kind of points situation or
Hmm.
something. I don't know what it is. Okay, but I could still think, 3 fruits, 6 ounces of protein, whatever it was. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember checking and ticking those boxes. Um, and so I think there was a lot of things. I think that there were a lot of ups and downs. And when I was up. Like I was restricting so perfectly. And I was the best little dieter there was. And I lost the most weight at the center. And I measured all my food and in the measuring cups and the measuring spoons and weighed all my protein. And it was just so prescriptive and so unnatural. And there were so many like good foods and bad foods that when I did one thing wrong, it was just such, how could I have done that? It's and then the binge would follow all of that hate, all of that, why can't
Hmm.
I just do this? Why can't I be perfect? And um that was like a big thing I knew for me because every time I would gain weight, I would gain more weight
Mm.
because you start really killing your metabolism.
Yeah.
And then after you hit menopause, forget it. Then it's really, um, and I think that as I grew older in the relationship with some people in my family, about how a lot of the abuse was still going on, and um, and then having my own family and having that seep in a little bit,
Hmm.
and after my mother passed away, and taking care of my father, and being the sole caretaker and other things going on. I just remember waking up one morning and I sat in bed and I was so overweight and so exhausted, like clinically exhausted. And I thought, if I keep going like this, like I'm going to die. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have a stroke. God forbid.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking, I I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Mm.
And I'm going to need to start making some radical changes. And I said that night to my husband, I said, "Do you have the kids in the morning? Because I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna leave here like about 5:40, and I want to get to the gym at 6 and work out before work." And he said, "Okay. So like, how long are you gonna do this for?" And I said, "Forever."
Wow.
And I did do that forever. And um, with the food, I started reaching out to different mental health professionals, and I really tried everybody. Um, I went to regular talk therapy, clinical psychologists, trauma therapists, energy healers, affirmation special. Like I can't even begin to tell you that I tried everything, and I finally found a center that's what they do. It's like a very intense immersive program where they teach embodiment, being in touch with your body. They teach nutrition. There's regular therapy. There's mealtime check-ins where you actually eat with people. And that for me was really that holistic, immersive. I guess after so many years of it, for me in particular, over 40 years, living your whole life one way.
Hmm.
So that was, and everybody else along the way really contributed, gave me a great basis. There
Wow.
wasn't any one thing, but I think that everybody needs to have their own journey.
Absolutely. And were your siblings aware of what you were going through?
No,
Real.
no. When I came out with my book,
Hmm.
um, my sister, one of my sisters, like both my sisters are in it, but I sent it to one of them, and I was a little bit nervous about what she would have to say. Um, and she called me and she was crying. She said, "I had no idea." She said, "I'm so sorry that you went through all of this, and you don't have to do it alone. Like you could have shared with me, or, but like I said, as binge eaters, we don't like to bother anybody. It's food is there's a book called the Good Girl's Drug,
Oh, okay. And who's the author?
Goodness gracious, I'm
Just
so
curious.
embarrassed because it's one of my favorites, but I'm going
We
to
could Google. Yeah, we could
look
Google.
up the good girl. Yeah, Food the Good Girl's Drug. She's actually incredible.
And for anyone that wants to read your book, can you share a little bit about the binge and sprint, and what kind of tips or anything that you could really just share with some of the things that you have shared in your book for people that want to read this, that are maybe in struggling at this point and is trying to figure out how to navigate through their life with this.
Sure. Thank you. So my book is called Binge and Sprint: From Endless Cake to Recovery, and it really chronicles um, the big inflection points in my life with food, starting from an 8-year-old through to college, um, getting married and moving in with a husband, raising a family, keeping up with the Joneses, ailing parents, and really through almost every stage, buying a home, jobs, starting a business. It's all of those things and how it showed up. And I believe that anybody could relate to this book, binge eating or not. It's just difficulties at specific points in your life and how you see yourself. Um, so I really recommend it for all people. It's clean, so you don't have to worry about any language or anything if you have somebody younger that you wanted to refer to.
Great.
And then at the end, I give 36 tips just about just about living healthy, healthy in mind, healthy in body, healthy in habits. And if you listen to Leslie, we I really resonate with her. So there's a lot of it. But I think that the number one tip that I can give people is that there is no accident that you are here on this earth. And you really, really need to know your worth, because just the fact that God, in his infinite wisdom, decided to place you here on this earth at this time means that you are worthy of every good thing. And it is not your place to be uncomfortable in your body. It is not your place in this world to have to suffer alone with something that is your birthright and something that has been provided for you in the most healthy and bountiful and beautiful way. So if you are suffering, you have the right and you are deserving of every good thing, and especially to make yourself comfortable in your body and just know that you are beautiful and you are deserving. And if you need help, to definitely reach out.
That is so powerful. And I was drawn into what you were saying because everybody can relate to challenges in our life that we've had crossroads and births, deaths, celebrations, all of that, right? The ebbs and flows of life, and the fact that we are placed on this planet for a reason. So, and to have that self worth and self love is so powerful. And I would love to hear what your projects, what are you working on, how people can get in touch with you.
So my website is called soulnationinc.com. And I actually have a workbook coming out. Um, Probably so now we're in probably before the year is up. So sort of
Great.
at the end of the year, Christmas time. So I have a workbook coming out, and it started when I was going through binge eating. I would journal, and I realized I kept journaling about the same things and learning the same things and being aware of the same things. And so everything is based on all of my journaling, what I experienced. And I saw that there was a pattern, and it came from there. I'm very excited. And then another thing that I am doing, and you will see it on Soul Nation Inc., is that hopefully by the end of the year, we are creating retreats for binge eating. So 12-week courses, and on week 5, we would be at a 3-day retreat in a beautiful mansion in upstate New York, which is going to be pretty special. And I have the most incredible people on staff. So professionals who've been doing this forever. So I'm very excited about that, and I can't wait to get it together.
Yeah, congratulations. And I always ask my guests two things. One, did you have a role model, somebody that really set you on the path to your business, your success in that? And also, do you have a hidden hobby? It's something that you like to do that maybe many people don't know about.
So, okay. So, in terms of a role model, I have been blessed to have several role models, but several in my life. Um, but everyone has stayed for just a short time. It's almost as if they were placed in my path at a specific time for a specific length of time, just to get me where I needed to go, almost like following little breadcrumbs on a trail,
That's so
each
interesting.
one leading me to another thing, to another thing, to another thing.
Yeah. Usually someone says, well, it was my grandmother, or it was, you know, a
No,
figure that a lot of people know. So I love that. I've never heard that response, and it's so true. Uh, and what about a hidden hobby that you might have, or something that you love to do?
so I love aesthetics. I love putting things together. I love putting together the perfect outfit. I love decorating the perfect room and making everything look beautiful. I love cooking, and I love using china, all different kinds, and
Mm,
setting the perfect table. I believe, what does Oprah say? That your home should rise to meet you, right? She says
that's
that. So
amazing.
that you should surround yourself with everything that makes you happy and look beautiful, pictures that evoke um, the best uh, feelings inside of you. And everything should be beautiful because you're beautiful, and you should look good, and you should look at beautiful things. I did an event for one of my businesses, and there was an elderly woman. She was a Holocaust survivor. She was hosting, and I noticed in her home that there were these lipsticks everywhere. Just on every end table, there was a lipstick. And we were leaving. She goes, "Okay, everybody, you have to leave. I have to put on my lipstick and go to bed." So I laughed and I said, "You mean you have to take off your lipstick and go to bed?" And she said, "No, I always have to have lipstick before I go to bed. Let's say I wake up in the middle of the night and I have to go to the bathroom. I should pass a mirror and not see myself with lipstick? Why would I do that? I want to look beautiful when I look in the mirror."
I love that.
And
That's
I just, it was such a lesson. She spent so much time in her life,
mm,
you know, in awful situations. So now she wanted to look gorgeous and have her home beautiful, and everywhere she looked should be beauty, should be reflected
wow.
onto her so that she could radiate that forward.
Yeah, I'll always remember that because I was trying to figure out lipstick. Was it a gift? Maybe she was in the makeup industry and said, whatever lipstick resonates with you, take it. But I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on my show. So, just one more time for our viewers and listeners, how can we contact you? What's the best way?
Contact me through my website, soulnationinc.com, or you could email me at Naomi at soulnation. And that's, I think, the best way.
Yeah,
Soul
perfect.
Nation Inc. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you. And for all my viewers and listeners, just remember to get outside, ground with Mother Earth, and keep it dirty. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.